At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV! Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is ours.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
Hey, I just Venmo'd you for rent.
Nice. Now I can instantly spend it whether I'm checking out online with Venmo or using a Venmo debit card.
Say more.
More exactly. Because the more you do with Venmo, the more you get. Like earning up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash on a bundle of brands.
So, order more pizza.
The math demands it.
Get the Venmo debit card.
Venmo Stash bundle terms and exclusions apply. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms. Venmo checkout not available at all merchants. Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A.
Welcome and hello to the 166th episode of the Filmmakers podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to F it up, in our very, very humble opinion. I am Giles Alderson. I'm a writer, director, and I'm a producer. And my feature film, The Dare, is available now if you live in the USA and Canada. Please go watch, please go support. And if you do like it, give us a nice review on Amazon. And I'm also the producer of A Serial Killer's Guide to Life, which is available now. Go watch it on Sky Movies, because that's ace, and go support if you can. And I did direct a lovely movie called Arthur and Millie, Knights of Camelot, which is out in July. I believe it's still out in July. I haven't been told otherwise. So until then, it is out in July, which isn't long away now because we're in June. We are in June, and I'm delighted to tell you today's episode is with John McPhail, who is the director of the absolutely brilliant zombie musical Anna and the Apocalypse. We have such a brilliant chat. We go in so much detail about how he makes his films, and there's so much for you guys and girls to learn. We talked about why we fall in love with movies, what's the reason for that, and knowing your audience, which we always talk about anyway at the end of the show, is know your audience. We talk about how he went from shorts to making his first feature film, Where Do We Go From Here, by using some of his award money and also crowdfunding money too, and going down the SEIS route. We also talk about the importance of asking for things, just actually phoning up and asking, and how great that can be and how useful it can be as well. And we also talk about how to get into film festivals, how Anna and the Apocalypse came about, how he shot it, how he directed it, and how he got around all those marvellous musical medleys and numbers. And we talk about imposter syndrome and some amazing advice for the filmmakers, for you lot, for you out there. It is a great episode. It is coming up very soon. But first, I have to tell you about the Make Your Film event, which is this Thursday. It's this Thursday. It's come around so quick. June the 4th, 6 p.m. onwards UK time. So wherever you are around the world, you can come join us. And we have amazing guests. From Dan Mazer, who directed, wrote, produced so many movies, including Borat and Bruno. And at the moment, he's directing the Home Alone reboot. He's going to be there. Oh, yeah. We've also got Sharon Maguire, the director of Bridget Jones' Diary, the first one, and the last one, which is just out on Sky now. It's called Bridget Jones's Baby. We've also got chats from casting director Shakira Dowling and the UK actors Tweet Up. Myself and Dom are hosting. It's going to be brilliant. Come and join us. The link is in the show notes. It's donations going to the film and TV charity, COVID Relief Fund. So give what you can. It's a couple of quid. But come and join us because you will learn so much from this. Just sit there and have it on in the background, whatever. You don't have to do anything, you just listen. So come and join us. It's the Make Your Film event. It is this Thursday, June the 4th. It's going to be brilliant. And we have launched on the website, and I'm so happy this has happened. And thank you so much, Laura Whitehouse, for sorting this out and getting the designs up and ready and on the website for you. And I talk designs because we have merch. Merch has landed. Go to filmmakerspodcast.com, click the merch button, and you'll see all the really cool t-shirts and hoodies and mugs and face masks and the water bottles that you can use on set and reusable ones. So cool. Got some cool little designs on there, so I hope you enjoy. But go have a look, filmmakerspodcast.com, and go to the merch section. Again, I'll put a little link up in the show notes to make it easier for you. But please do support if you can. We make no money from these. Literally, Redbubble takes all the money. I think we make about £2 a t-shirt. So I've kept the prices as low as possible so that you can all enjoy them and actually maybe wear them and with pride, I say. So, but thank you so much for listening all this time that you have. If you're new, welcome. If you're an oldie like me and done all 166 episodes, then thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Speaking of oldies but goldies, shout outs go to the people who've been listening a long time and supported along the way with lovely little tweets. Do tweet us at FilmmakersPod. Ronan Summers, Chloe, the producer on Twitter, handle is at Chloe Producer on Twitter. Ian Tierney, Kane Levy, I was on his show recently. Do check that out. Take One, Slate One. Haida Zafar. A big shout out to the Mental Health Week, which was about a week ago now. But I know so many of you are going through real issues right now. It is a daunting time. It is tough. But I thought I'd keep going with this podcast and keep upbeat and keep light and just keep giving you a bit of hope that you can go out there and make your film just like I have as well. Because I know it's hard. The amount of things that I've had in prep that are falling through at the moment or about to go and aren't. And there's so many big producers it's happened to too. But what's good about this is we're all in the same boat. But whatever you're feeling, don't be alone with it. Reach out to someone, whoever it is. Reach out to me if you have to, if you want to, if you need to. I'm here for you, and so many other people are as well. It is a difficult time, but we have to stick together and be strong. Because we can get through it, and we are getting through it, and we will get through it. But if you're struggling, don't be alone, don't be a stranger. We're here for you. So, shall we get to today's episode with John McPhail? It is brilliant, and you're going to enjoy this, whatever the weather, because it's nice weather. I don't know why I said that. So here we go. This is the episode with John McPhail, episode 166 of the Filmmakers Podcast. Relax, enjoy, and go make your film.
Hey dude, how's that?
Hey, you go. Yeah, it's good for me.
Oh,
All
that's
right.
much better.
Brilliant. Right, let's jump straight in. I'd wanted to know how you started, how you actually, got on the road to making, a very successful feature film like Anna and the Apocalypse. You went to the Scottish Conservatoire, is that right? And you made shorts out off the back of that.
Yeah, so I went to college at first. I left school being like, I want to be in the film industry, but I don't know how to do that.
Did you know from a young age that's something you wanted to do? I mean, I say college, like 16, 17. Did you know then, you go, I want to be a filmmaker?
No, I just loved making stuff, stuff with my pals and things like that. We used to play a bit with a camcorder and make up Monty Python sketches and things like that.
Brilliant, yeah.
Leaving school, I didn't know what to do. I was going to go to and do stage management.
Really? Okay.
At the QMU, but I was on my way into Glasgow one day to meet my pals, and I bumped into somebody who went to a different school, and they were like, "Oh, I'm going to go and do an HNC in film and TV," and I went, "You can do that?" Like, aye. So I was like, no way. So I looked into the course and applied, and I got into do the HNC, and just was I got my hands on a camera and just loved it. I was lucky enough to get into it was the RSAMD at the time, and now they've called the RCS or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to do cinematography. I thought I wanted to be a DOP.
Okay.
So I just sort of specialised in camera, and when I left, I worked in sport for about 5 years. I used to work for the Scottish Football Association.
That's interesting because there's a footballer with the same name as you, which is great, right? I mean, if you search your name, this footballer comes up. It's like, oh, right, okay, yeah.
He's a Celtic legend. He
there
scored,
you go.
He scored in it's a famous victory. I know it's a good name to get confused with for me anyway.
Yeah, that for you. Oh, good.
No,
as long as you're a
totally.
Celtic fan, then that makes sense. If you were Rangers, that'd be horrible, wouldn't it? Just be like, yeah, every time you say your name, be like, what was that? Who are you? Get out. So which is really interesting because I think I think a lot of filmmakers find it very difficult to go, look, I might want to be a director or a cinematographer or an actor, whatever it is in that realm, but how do I do it? How do I actually make a career? You know, and you can go out there and ask people, they'll go, what does a director do? You know what I mean? So it's quite an interesting choice that you knew, or you felt that that's something you wanted to do and could make a career of it early on. I think a lot of people sort of fall into it, or they go through it a different angle, but it sounds like you, from the off, were going, look, this, I love it. Do you remember what about it that you really loved? What was it that you loved?
I don't know. I think it was just, throwing up a lens on something and, making it look really pretty. And like that was like the beginning of it, was just like, as I say, it was just the images and like the frames. I think it was just like a love of making stuff as well. Like, there was a real enjoyment of going out and making stuff with just your mates, your college mates, and shooting stuff, and the kind of like the adrenaline of it, the excitement of it, and that was part of it as well. Like I love being on set, and I love it when it's a bit, as we call it, kickball scramble, where it's just mayhem all the time. Like as I say, the adrenaline that just sort of fuels you through it. But film in general, like I fell in love with cinema at a very, very, very early age. One thing that we used to look forward to when we were kids was like a Friday for when my dad would finish work, and we would all go down to like the video shop, and we would rent 3 movies, and it was like one movie for my parents, one movie for me and my brother, and that was like our Friday nights. My mum and dad would go and watch their movie, we would go and watch ours, and then as a family we'd pick one for the Saturday night. I always just looked forward to that Friday night to be go and pick a movie.
That's lovely. That's really nice. I think a lot of filmmakers get their love from other films. I think that's where it comes from. I think the on-set side of things is amazing, but where we really get the joy and where we really fell in love with it, I think, was watching those films that really made us think or move or be frightened. John Carpenter did that so well. It just put you on the edge and made you, what's going to happen? And I think that's an exciting point. Even though we now know what happens when we make films, we know it's not like that on set. It's never the glamour. It's always hard work and compromise. But yet, when other people watch it, they don't see the issues or problems or things that went wrong, and we did that as kids, and I think that's magical, and you try and hold on to that little piece of magic.
But the thing is most people still do hang on to that magic. They don't know how it's made. They're like, it's not the general audience, and that's kind of like what you need to think about a lot of the time is like, well, it's the one thing you're always thinking about when you're a filmmaker is like, who's my audience? Who's this film for?
Yes,
that's that's where you can, as I say, sort of like, bring people together. It was one of the things we loved about Rihanna was, bringing that musical fans and those horror fans together. And I know that's like, things like the Rocky Horror Picture Show and stuff like that, and Little Shop of Horrors had done that, brilliantly before. But there's different parts in the film, like the whole first act is like a zany teen comedy musical, and as I say, like knowing your audience, and like I'm a horror fan, right, and I know that my horror audience has been sitting there and like looking at their watches and going, John, we didn't sign up to High School Musical. We signed up to High School Musical with zombies. Where are the zombies? There's like the very beginning of the second act, I started off with like a whole host of like horror tropes, like like builds and stuff like that, and like drones, it's like the high angle shot of her and then the one underneath her bed, and it's all building to nonsense. But what it's sort of me doing is sort of nodding to the like my horror fans and saying thanks for waiting.
Yes,
horror comedy's about to ensue, and then she walks out and it's just like bedlam. As well as sort of like taking people through those sort of paces. I'm trying to sort of like keep that audience on board. As I say, is when you break up the film, like as I say, with like the 3-act structure, it's like that first act is a zany teen comedy, then we've got like horror comedy musical drama, which then falls into drama musical,
Which I think is stunning, and I'd not seen it before, and certainly, like you say, with Rocky Horror and Little Shop, and we'd not seen it for a long time, and this came about, and it just sort of, it blew my mind with how great it was and how fun. And I'm, like I say, I'm a big fan of musicals. I was on the West End stage for a bit. That whole feeling of that, but put on film, is just delightful. But before we delve really deep into Annie the Apocalypse, let's talk about how it came about, because you'd made your first feature film before that, which was called Where Do We Go From Here?
That's correct, yeah. I've been working as like a camera assistant on this TV programme called Waterloo Road. You might remember it.
Of course, great British TV show. There we go, yeah.
So I was working on that as a camera assistant. I must have been about 25, and I was like totally hating my job. I wasn't hating the people. I loved the people. I loved the people I worked with. I was just wasn't enjoying it. And I wasn't being creative, or feeling creative. Me and my mates, we used to shoot like loads of comedy sketches, and me and like my best friend Tyler Collins, me and him, we were sick of doing like set up punchline, and we wanted to do comedy with like character and heart, and so we were talking about making a short film. And while I was working on Waterloo Road, I wrote this little short called Notes. Basically, like I was living in a flat with a guy who I never met for 3 months.
What, this is true?
Yeah. So what happened was that while I was working on Waterloo Road, I was living in it was like student accommodation.
Got you, yeah, shared accommodation and stuff. Yeah, just
it was old student halls, but like it was a private company that was letting out, and they were only like letting 2 rooms to a person. There's like 7 rooms on a floor, and it was 2 people each floor. They were like they put in, and I lived with this guy who worked night shift in a factory, So basically, I'd been living with him for a couple of weeks, and like I started leaving him like post-it notes around the flat, like going, "Hi, my name's John. I'm your flatmate. There's beer in the fridge. Wire into it." And he started writing me back like, "Hiya, John. Like da da da." And genuinely, that's like how we communicated until he set the fire alarm off one night. And one of the sparks like threatened to throw him out the window. Like it was chaos.
Wow.
Because by that point as well, like some of the other people in Waterloo Road who lived further away, were just staying in there as digs.
Yeah.
So we had a problem on the production and had to shut down for 3 weeks. And I'd written this little like romantic comedy about 2 people who lived in a flat together that like communicated through notes. I remember it was just like we scrambled together like a couple £100 to make it.
That must have been really sort of liberating for you as well. The fact that you were there working on that, the fact that your story came from an idea, you just was like, well, this is quite a good idea, and what could happen from this? And the fact that you had that 3-week window to go, well, why don't we just shoot something? And you had, people around you who could do that quite easily.
Well, that was the thing, is like there was some people who on Waterloo Road, there was another runner who produced, and he graduated like a few years behind me at the RSAMD. So there was like this sort of like, and then I had my mates who I used to shoot the sketches with. Right. So like I can bring like a whole sort of like a team together.
Perfect. Yeah. Who were already knew how a film was put together, or a TV in this sense, but it's the same principle. It wasn't like people who hadn't been on set before, or exactly. So you were in a strong position to go, well, okay, you all know what you're doing, and let's all step up roles. So if you were an assistant before, now you're production manager, and that gives them a really nice credit as well, right?
No, totally. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a very tiny crew. There was like, I done like the costume and like all the production.
I love it. Totally, like, we've all been there. Yeah.
But it was just to get it made, and it was like it was a sweet wee script, and I thought it could be a bit of fun. And honestly, mate, like I've never been really like naturally good at anything in my life. Like really? I always used to get like the cheers for turning up medal, like I was never picked first, second, third or fourth.
Yeah. Most improved player award. Yeah, okay, that one. All right.
Thanks for being here. Like,
cheers for bringing the water. Yeah, exactly.
I struggle to learn like how to play the guitar. I've got no rhythm, it's like, of like different things I've ever tried. Like I've never been naturally good, you know, even with the cinematography thing, you know, you're constantly reading and trying to keep up to date with stuff, and I'm a nightmare at that stuff.
It's hard. Cinematography, it's an amazing, there's people who do it really well. They're very skilled at it and understand it really well. And I think for me and you, we're much more the sort of, we want to work with actors and more creative, hands-on with the whole process. But yeah, cinematography is just, it feels like a different beast sometimes.
But like there was just something clicked, like, you know, where I everything went so super well. Like, don't get me wrong, it was like things that went wrong, and you know, little things here and there. But like overall, it was really, really good. And then I'd got I got a meeting at work, like once we started back. And like I was basically thought this was them going to renew my contract because, you know, we went back 3 weeks and, you know, we're going to have to extend. And they were like, we're not going to extend your contract. And like apparently the DOP didn't like me.
Oh no!
So
fuck that guy.
Well, that was the thing. I was devastated. Like I didn't know what I was going to do. You know, like I was going to have to go get another job and work with a different camera team. And I loved the camera team I worked with. You know, we were all, you know, really good mates. And and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And I was in post with notes, and I was like, you know, this is no bad. This isn't bad at all. And I was like, right, well, what am I going to do? You know, I'm going to try and become a director. And I put the film into a couple of film festivals. And I got into a festival in the February, and I went to the film festival, and I went to like a panel, and they were talking about on this panel how short films are your calling card for, like, to make, like feature films, and this is, how you can make like a low budget feature off the back of a short. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and make 3 short films, all in the vein of comedy, exploring comedy. Each time, we'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the budgets will, obviously get a wee bit bigger, and we'll grow with it. With the team that I'd sort of like assembled, and as that team came and went, and people were added to it, and etc. And we just ended up on this sort of like year of making like all these short films, where we made four shorts in a year. Our most successful short was a film that we made for a laugh in between.
That's funny. Is that Just Say Hi?
That's the one. That's the one.
See, this is brilliant, 'cause this is Virgin Media Shorts, and you're the first guy to ever win, guy or girl, filmmaker to win 2 awards in the same film festival, right? With the Virgin Media Shorts, which is incredible. And how funny that you said, this is one that we just thought we'd just try. This one we just made for a laugh between. Isn't that funny how that can work?
Aye, well, I think we were on a roll at the time, and me and Tyler were just really, really in sync, everything that we wanted to do. And, my producers like Andrew Lanny and Lauren Lamar were just like, they were always, badgering me to do stuff and, like keep the momentum up.
See, that's great to have good people around you as well. I think that's really important as a filmmaker, because otherwise you just sit on your own and go, oh, well, I'm trying to write something that's probably not good enough, and, I've got to raise money for it. But if you've got 2 other people, or 3 or 4, all around, all trying to support each other, get to the next stage, then you're in a winner. You really are.
Well, that was the next stage, which was the crowdfunding, and the shorts had done well at festivals. Never here. We won a few awards here, and as I say, the Virgin Media Shorts we did well with, but it was always like short film festivals in the States, or in Europe somewhere. So
you couldn't get to them, and it's like, there's another laurel on our page and stuff. I know, it's funny how that works. So those shorts have done, like you say, done well, and you were like, okay, where do we go from here? And you went, right, okay, well, I want to make a feature. So you decided to do the crowdfunding route. Talk us through that, because obviously making a feature is a lot of listeners now going, great, that's what I want to do. How much did you raise? How difficult was it? And let's talk about how you made the first feature.
So while we were shooting the shorts and I was writing the shorts, I was badgering about the idea of a feature. And I think it was the July, is when I ended up, because I'd been writing before that, what we're going to do for a feature. It was always in the back of my head, with these shorts in the vein, with comedy. And as we were doing them, I was sort of chopping and changing my mind, because, what do I do and what works? And I'd written one. It was called Babs and Kathy. It was basically a Lethal Weapon meets old people, and I was like, no, I'm not kicking off with my strongest foot. And my strongest foot, like throughout all this, has been Tyler. Like, you know, we've been doing the shots together. We were in post for our last one. He'd been doing the music for it, and I'm going, right, well, I need to do something with Tyler. And like this idea for like where do we go from here just came out of nowhere. It just started developing it from there. I ended up pitching it to the guys. I come back from New York from a festival and sat them down and went, right, we're not going to do this anymore. I want to do this. And I pitched it to them and they were like, no, let's do it. So started drafting away, started trying to raise the finance for the feature itself, and we were sort of like trying to, you know, as the drafts were coming in, we were trying to like guesstimate the budget and work it from there. And we thought if we can get 50 grand, we can get it in the can. Like that's totally achievable.
Yeah, totally achievable. Yeah, absolutely.
So how we do it? We got 5 grand from Virgin for
winning
for Just Say Hi.
Yeah,
so,
congrats.
It was 5 grand towards a short, and like we phoned them up and we were like, "Can we put it in your feature?" And they were like, "Aye." We were like, "Do we need to put your logo? Do we need to do anything?" And they were like, "No." maybe let us know when it's done. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a shame they finished, isn't it? Virgin Media Shorts. It's such a shame that didn't continue.
Oh, totally. No. It was for us. It was brilliant. You know, like
what a calling card, what a place. And at the time, it was like the biggest. You know, in the UK, Virgin Media Shorts was huge. It was a really big thing.
Everybody was putting in, you know, the shots were amazing. The shots were brilliant, you know.
Yeah, so you thought, right, let's raise some money, and you thought crowdfunding was the best way to get you 50k or around that amount.
No. You know, so we had the 5, and we thought we can get 10. We could get 10 from crowdfunding.
Yeah, but you did it.
Like, yeah, we got it. We did it. We smashed our target. Congrats. And we had a lot of fun doing it. And one of the things is we'd created like a little bit of a fan base from like our shorts, and those people were just who rallied about us, you know, and were the first people to put the money in their hands in their wallet. And then there was like mates who were just like, you know, waiting for payday to come, and you know, there was loads of stuff like that, as well as just people who just took a punt on us, which was incredible.
And what is great about, I find, that crowdfunders is the people who support you now, especially if you actually get a film out there, which you've done, and then go on to other stuff. Those people will support you forever, you know, because they're invested in you. Whether it's £5 or if it's 500 quid, they're invested in you and your projects and what you're delivering, and they can stay with you for life. And I think that's vital, you know, is not your brand as such, but you, John McPhail. People are like, well, yeah, I like him. I put some money into it. Oh, I started him off on his career. People love that. And I think that's great. That's great. So you managed to raise a bit more than 10, and then you had 5 from before. How did you go about getting the other, I suppose, 30, 25, 30?
So this was like one of our sort of like more clever moments for us anyway. I was sitting thinking, I was looking like at Shane Meadows, you know, I've just done the Virgin Media Shorts, and you know, there he is, like the man himself handing out the awards, you know, got a chat with him and stuff like that.
You've got to, yeah.
How did you do it? Mine with the Eurostar, mine like the, you know, like, you know, you got the Eurostar to make a feature film. They got, you know, to put money in. And I was like, who could I get to put money into my film? And I'm looking about, and I tried, you know, like the normal funding routes, but you know, it's like applying for a mortgage. If you don't tick the boxes, you don't get the mortgage. And you know, like I didn't tick the boxes, so that's just how it is. So I thought, construction stops for nothing. Like, you know, it's always decorating, rebuilding, refurbishing. At the time we were in a recession as well, and it's like, well, you know, who's got money? So when we launched our Kickstarter, like I blanketed out to these sort of like construction firms, to like the CEOs, and asked them if they wanted to come along to this short film night. It's like a Glasgow, you know, working class kind of like, you know, job, like, you know, filmmaker, you know, blah 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 blah. And like 4 companies came along to the night. So it was like a Kickstarter night, and we had our 4 shorts. So one guy sent his 3 daughters. One guy sent, 2 guys came along with their business partner, and another guy came along with his wife. And what that meant was it got me into their offices to pitch to them, like to be like, this is my plan. And by this point, like, you know, I don't know accounts, I don't know,
anything your business plan or your waterfall, none of that shit. You were like,
I'm I'm a total blagger.
Yep.
But at this point, I'm learning. So when I was in college, like, people would never like, phoning up and asking for stuff. But I was like, give me the phone. I'll phone it up. Give me it. I'm going for this. I want this. So I phoned up an accountant, and I was like, right, how do I get money out of people? For business. And I sat down, and he told me about this scheme called the SEIS scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Or SEIS, Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme. And what it is it basically is you can get up to 50% of your initial investment back at tax time if you're investing in a new enterprise.
Yes.
So, you're looking for like high tax earners and a way to like write stuff off and, make some money. And it's like, well, do I put money into this? And these guys put money into like soccer and like baseball teams and, take sponsor for strips and, one's a scaffolding company, etc. Like a sponsorship almost.
Totally, yeah. And they do it, like you say, they do it on football shirts. What's the difference in saying, well, all right, we'll give you 20 grand, whatever, totally. And actually we get a film at the end of it, and we get our name all over a film that we can talk about forever. It's a great way of doing it, mate. And the sad thing about the SEIS now and where it's at is it's an actual issue with the government. Are trying to work it through at the moment, but back then this was the best thing you could do.
Oh, totally! This was like the only thing I could do.
Yeah, and if anything, it's basically anything under 150k. Your investors could get up to even more, up to 50% back. But up to 75, depending on if everything went wrong, I think they got 75% back, which is kind of like, well, we're in for 25% then. If it does all right, hey, winning. Mate, so you basically went in and pitched and blagged it to these construction guys.
I like to say I blagged it, but one of the things about me is like I am from a working class background. My dad was a painter and decorator. My mum was a social worker. And these guys were all self starters. And one of the things I knew was like you don't make your way in the construction trade, and you don't know a bullshitter when you see one. So when I was in there, I was completely honest, and everything that I was doing was like, look, I'm just a self-starter like yous, and I'm looking to make a product and sell it. That's it. That's my ultimate goal. The only difference is instead of it being in construction or like making bikes or anything, I'm making a film.
Yeah, absolutely.
These guys, they were just brilliant with me, absolutely brilliant with me. Like they were really enamoured with like how ballsy I was, and what I wanted to do, but also like as I said, they could totally see themselves in there. And when I was 17, I went and worked for a construction company fitting kitchens and heating systems in Partick, so I could have some money between leaving school and going to work at or going to college, because I've never minded a bit of labour. I've always sort of done work with my dad and stuff.
So which really helped then when you went in to talk to them. At least you could say, "Look, I've done this too," right?
Oh, it's like it's having the banter, and understanding that. And in fact, one of the best things I ever did was go and work away with the football, because you were away with all these old heads and see the banter that these guys could just like they could tear you in two just by a couple of words, and rip you to bits, and I know you say I'm one of them. I am one of them, and this is all I'm wanting to do. And honestly, like one of the guys, like I went even halfway through my pitch and just stopped me and he went, right, hold on a second. Like, how much are you looking for? And I went, 10 grand. And he turned to his door and went, get a checkbook.
Oh, mate, that's amazing. What a great moment. You must have been like that. Do you want the rest? No? Get out there quick. That's so lovely, mate.
So and they totally championed me. They were like, nah, we like to put our investment in, and what happens. We did all the certificates and all that for the tax thing. So they got their money back and that side of it, and they were really happy with that. And
congratulations! That's really good.
That was kind of like that way how it worked. So yeah, it's just madness.
It is. So that's how you got your first feature made. Is you did a little bit of a Kickstarter, but you also went round and basically exec produced and learned how to sell your movie and yourself, and it's incredible. It's really cool. It's really cool.
At the same time, you don't know how to do it. It's just like, well, if I want to make this, I have to do this. Nobody else is going to do it for me, and nobody else is going to do it any better than me, because people could articulate themselves better than me in certain meetings in other places, and that's why they're there. But there's certain things. Like I'm Liam Neeson from Taken. I have a certain particular skill set.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Being a wee bit of a bam, and
yeah,
it works out. Yeah,
it does. So there you go. So now you've got your money, or you've managed to cobble it together, and now you're about to go direct it. Talk us through the first few days of this and the prep work that you did and leading up to it, and how that felt. Was there issues?
Oh, it was Hunter's issues. At one point we had a spark and he left, and because he told him I hadn't told him about the rates. But basically, I was going full commie. Like everybody get the same.
Yeah, why not? Pari passu across the board. Yeah, absolutely. We all get the same, kids. Yeah.
I can't do any better than that. And it's like, I think it was like 80 quid a day or something plus expenses. So if there was people who would put up, we got accommodation for, and as well, we were shooting it during the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow.
Wow.
So trying to find people accommodation and stuff like that was mad. And it was 16 days we shot it in.
Okay. Yeah.
Aye, it was incredible. It was brilliant. It was so tiring, but it was awesome. It was me and my team, and we were people who had been working with for years and I had worked with in the past, and it was all coming together. And through all of this, I'm doing it all with my mate Tyler. My big American mate.
Yeah.
It's that was also a total dream as well. Was I just got to work with my best pal all the time.
It's so important. It really is. It really is.
The next part of the equation of I only had enough money to get in the can, and everything else was I had to cut it myself because I couldn't trust an editor to sit and me not be over their shoulder the entire time, and not wanting to kill them.
I know what you mean. Did you learn to edit then?
No, I knew how to edit.
Already.
I knew how to edit. Done college, and you do the basics. But I'd been shooting corporates for years as well as the football, and you need to cut.
Yeah.
You need to know how to cut, and so I knew my way about an edit suite. I knew how what everything was. It was just cutting a feature.
Yeah,
I think I'd never cut a film before that. Really,
no, to do a long full feature is tough. That's tough.
We created a little walk, there was a walk-in wardrobe. We turned into a sound room, nice. And Tyler would just do the soundtrack in there because before we'd done the film, I'd created a playlist of artists and songs and things like that. So Tyler started going through that, and we started going through all the all the different music cues, and he started recording the music while I was cutting. So cut the film. Then it was the dub and grade, and then it priced out about 14 grand it was going to be to get it dubbed and graded. Mm-hmm. But I always had a plan, and what my plan was right. If I put this film into Edinburgh Film Festival, because I'm a first-time UK filmmaker, I'll get nominated for the Michael Powell Award. If I get nominated for the Michael Powell Award, I can apply to Creative Scotland for completion funding for up to 15 grand. Now, I'll only need 14 grand. So
there's a grand for me.
So here we go. Let's get into this. So got the film ready to send off to Edinburgh Film Festival, sent in a screener. And I was like, there's nobody in hell who's making a romantic comedy in Scotland or from Scotland. Nobody. This is we're a shoe in. And we get rejected. It absolutely broke my heart. Totally broke my heart. I was devastated. Because what was my plan? How else was I going to finish my film? What was I going to do? And I couldn't get out of bed for days. And I'm going, right, how am I going to get this to work? So I had to get back to the drawing board. Totally broke my heart. And
I bet. So what did you do? How did you get through it?
So the next, I was going to have to write to these, facility companies and say, any chance, somebody can do this for me. And, one of them was a edit facility called Edit 123. Mm-hmm. They'd shown it to the head of the sound and one of the graders, and they were totally up for it, doing it. They'll do it on their nights.
It's so true. If you just ask, and this is something for all filmmakers out there, if you just ask, and John here is a perfect example of doing that, go out and ask, because people do want that credit that, you know, if they normally do colouring on an advert or whatever, well, they want to do colouring on a feature film because people do. Well, like I say, they've done Homes on the Hammer. They want to go, hey, I want to do a feature. It's cooler. It sounds better at parties and all that kind of stuff and for their careers. So you just got to ask, and that's what you did.
They also loved the film. Like a Scottish film, you can take your grant to say this is rare.
Not many.
Very
Not
rare.
many of them. Oh, that's great.
And that's the kind of comedy and stuff that had been working for us, you know, was like the sweet stuff. Like that was the stuff that people really responded to, and that was like, you know, we Just Say Hi. It was like it's a sweet, you know, film. It's, you know, Notes is a sweet film. The other two are not sweet, but, you know, like
but you have to do them, you know.
different veins of comedy, you know.
Totally. Wonderfully, now you've managed to finish the film pretty much. So how did you get it out there and sell it? Was this again you going out there going, right, what do I do?
Oh, totally. So the next thing about was right, well, how do I get attention to it? And it's like, well, film festivals, and you know, we sent it to the Sydney Indie Film Festival. Mm-hmm. It was just a wee festival, and we'd also sent it to a comedy festival in Transylvania.
Hilarious.
It's called the Cluj International Comedy Festival.
Oh yeah, the Cluj. Okay, yeah.
So I was like, right, well, you know, filed them into these, and we get accepted. This was also like, you know, during the putting it into Edinburgh Film Festival. Here we go.
Right. And are these costing you? Because a lot of these festivals do cost money. Yeah. That's the thing, to put them in. So again, were you very careful about which festivals you chose? So
of course, I've done like a festival run with my shorts, and short films have got a festival life of 2 years, whereas a feature I've got a festival life of 1. Like, so with shorts, you know, you've got, as I say, 2 years to sort of just get it out, get it circulated, get it around, and it's 2 years of like learning how to use, you know, Without a Box. At that time, it felt like it was Without a Box and not Film Freeway. Film Freeway is incredible. It's amazing. I love it. The pain of Without a Box was it was so painful. So just like learning, you know, like, you know, how to put a film into a festival, what to do, and, you know, by that point, you know, I'd learned how to write covering letters, and, you know, I had like a template that I would move in, and, you know, like, you know, if festivals, you know, what they want to hear is that you a bit about why they want to be in their festival, and it's like, you know, go back and research it, you know, look at the festival and look at the website, look at past winners, look at other films that have been there, look at their mission statements. You know, festivals sometimes, you know, each year they've got a different mission statement because they're, you know, concentrating on certain segments or like different types of films. You know, maybe Scottish film is actually something that's in their mission statement this year. Do you know what I mean? I know Glasgow Film Festival each year, you know, like it was a couple of years ago, it was Argentinian films. The year before that was Canadian films. You know, obviously there's a section of that. So, you know, festivals are looking for different types of films. They're also looking for specific types of films. And if your film fits that, you know, brief, then there's a big chance you're going to get your film screened. So just taking the time, and it is so time consuming, sitting there and going favorite, and then going through them all and writing them all out, and, you know, reading them all and reading through the statements and watching shorts, and it is laborious, but that's your job. It is. You want to learn about film festivals, go to sit in a seminar about film festivals, and then when you know, go to sit down to do it and realise that, you know, it's different because there's different ways of doing it, and the only way you're going to do it is by learning and by, you know, doing it. And yeah, you need to spend some money, you know, but if you're going to do that, do the early birds, you know, mark all the early birds. Totally,
yeah. And do you know what? And it's the same as prepping a film. People go, I just want to be a filmmaker, I don't want to be bothered with all that sort of stuff. But when you're prepping a film, that's a shit ton of work. Oh, totally. You know, it's constantly. So it should be the same at the other end. There's no difference between whether you're working on your sound, your grade, or you're putting it into festivals, or you're trying to get it out there on iTunes, whatever it is. That's a full-time job. It's part of your job as a director, producer, whatever it is. You know, it's so important, and people do overlook it a lot. And I love what you've done there, and I love that you researched all those film festivals. I think that's great advice for filmmakers out there. It's really good. Absolutely.
I've got some like such sweet relationships with like festivals, short film festivals that I can't apply to. Like I can't do it anymore, but, you know, like I've still got them on Facebook, and, you know, like, you know, they still, like, you know, tag you and stuff, and, you know, it's you know, you get to create these relationships, and then see when you're doing the Kickstarters, like, who have you created relationships with? You know, particularly if you can't make the festival, but you make like a video or you do Q&A. Me and Tyler would sit up till like, you know, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning to do Q&As you know, with different film festivals. So you've just screened your short, and you know, if you're willing to do that, put that in your covering letter. You know, if you're willing to travel, if you have the means to travel, if you have the means to get there, tell them you're coming.
I definitely, that makes a huge difference. Yeah, and also there is some grants you can get if you get into a film festival and you obviously can't afford to go, that you can get, that they will pay you. So BFI do that quite a lot, and a lot of people don't utilize that, but it's there.
Yeah, there's a specific standard. So if you get into like, you know, like some of the biggies, one of the best things about this is like I'm a Glasgow boy, and you know, as I say, Edinburgh broke my heart, but you know, I'm not even from Edinburgh. I'm from Glasgow, and the Glasgow Film Festival picked it up. Like we got like this like real hype behind us because we ended up getting nominated for 7 awards at the Sydney Film Festival, and we won 3 of them, I think. I won 3: Best Supporting Actress, Best Film, and Best Score.
That's absolutely wonderful. You see, I love festivals. I'm a real big fan of them. I love meeting other filmmakers there. But what happened with the Dare is we got into Popcorn Fright's film festival, and they offered to fly me over, which was incredible. And I was like, yeah, for sure I'm going. but when we were there, I not only met the most coolest people ever, but I also met future distributors. I didn't know it at the time, but they watched the film. They were in the audience. They were big horror fans. They watched the film because I know you were in Popcorn Frights the year before. And suddenly the next thing I know, after I've watched the film, they're like, send us a screener. We want the movie. Next thing I know, I'm putting them in touch with my sales agents. Next thing I know, they've booked the movie, and now it's out there in the world. So I think film festivals are a really, really good place.
Totally.
Really good place for filmmakers.
Igor and Judith are like 2 of my most favourite people in the entire world.
There you go. Yeah, we even talked about you this year when we were on the beach, by the way. Yeah,
he always loves getting poked out of the beach, so he does, and getting to the sea.
I know.
Loves it.
It's brilliant. We loved it. That's where I met Beckham Woods, the writers of A Quiet Place.
Oh, amazing.
In the water. We're just swimming in the sea. Hey, guys. Hi. We're all at the festival together. It's just so wonderful. So nice. So you get into the film festival and you do that route, and now suddenly you're getting a lot of traction, you're winning awards, and is that an easier place now to get your film? Where do we go from here distributed?
Well, I think it was after Glasgow Film Festival, we'd been teasing about putting into Creative Scotland for like distribution and exhibition funding, because when we did a screening of like member of shorts when we did the crowdfunder. The Kickstarter, we used Cineworld, and the programmer at Cineworld was like, she loved the shorts, and she was like, if your feature's half as good as your shorts, like send it to me, we'll see if we can get it, screened here at Cineworld. And I was like, do you know what? Like, how cool would that be if we could get like a theatrical out of this? And so that was like always sort of in the back of our heads about distribution. So we never ever wanted to sort of like screw our UK distribution over. So I ended up getting put out Amazon and all that like much later on. I think the first place to buy it was Brazil. Brazilian TV for like 3 years or something.
That's amazing. And was that you doing the date? Was that you?
No. It was so we got like a sales agent. It's called Network TV Ireland. Like it's a wee distribution company out in Ireland, and they sort of like look after it for like that. So
so brilliant. You that's how you did it with your first feature. Where do we go from here? And now people can watch that, right? It's available for people now on Amazon, and
it's on Amazon. Like it's a film you can watch with your grandparents if you're stuck in quarantine with your grandparents, or isolation with your grandparents, or if you're like, you've got your grandparents' Amazon.
Perfect gift. Well, there you go. I'll put the link to that in the show notes. Congratulations on your first film. Let's talk about Anna and the Apocalypse now, because obviously it blew up again, did really well in the festivals, which is a zombie apocalypse musical, which we talked about at the beginning. But let's delve deep into this, because this originally was Ryan McHenry, and it was his sort of baby. And this Ryan McHenry, if you don't know, for listeners out there, was the guy who was very famous for Ryan Gosling's trying to get him to eat cereal.
Ryan Gosling won't eat cereal, babe.
Yeah, that's it. So he's very famous from that. I think he was known from the Glee team as well, right? Or something along those lines. That's what I read somewhere. But so we had this story. about this, and he made the short film, which was called Zombie Musical, right?
That's correct.
That's correct. I remember seeing it years and years ago. Someone in an office that we're talking about film, some producer or whatever, said, "Oh, you've got to come and see this, Giles. You'll love it." And he put it in. It's a zombie musical. They're trying to get money for it, and I was like, "Good luck." But that looks amazing and hilarious. And the next thing I know, it's happening, and you're attached, and you're directing this through Blazing Griffin. Talk to me about how it happened for you.
What happened was, it was Glasgow Film Festival.
Yep.
When I got back, there was this like sort of like electricity just in the air. Like it was the weirdest thing, and like the applause like at the end was like I knew I'd missed something really, really good, if that made sense. And like
yes.
There was just this buzz about it. But the two producers from Anna and the Apocalypse were in the audience that night, Nicholas Crumb and Nathan Carew, and they'd been looking at horror directors, musical directors, and they just hadn't found this right fit. But he was this guy who'd made a film for 50 grand that was all heart, and that's what what people got from it, which was what was, as I say, what it was supposed to be. And they asked me to come in and if I would be interested in it. No, like I read the script and just fell in love with it. I just fell in love with the characters and like how fun it was. So they invited me to come and pitch for it. So I came, pitched for it. It was quite a few months down the line after that. Because I think that was they'd seen that in the March, and then I was pitching for it in the April. I think I got the job in the April 2016. So that was like the all go from there. We were in like what we call soft prep for about 9 months.
Well, I know Tracy Jarvis and Steve Jarvis as well. We've produced Cassette together, and they've told me all about this film. That's why I was at Fright Fest that year, and I actually met you there very briefly as well, which was nice. And they talk about it with so much high regard, and yourself as well, and the fact that this little movie, it just became huge, and it's almost really weird how it didn't become that big in the UK, but in America and Scotland, it's just great, and it should be, because if you've not seen this movie, it is just delightful and brilliant. And they obviously talked about the production and the process, and Ella Jarvis is in the movie as well, their daughter, which is really great. So talk to me. So now you've got the job. Talk to me about your. How did you do the musical scenes? How did you do the zombie effects? Let's maybe just go back a bit and talk us through.
So, it was just a case of breaking down the script, and I never done musicals before. I went and watched like hundreds and hundreds of musicals because I'm not a big musical fan. See, before I made this film, if you'd to say to me, "Come on, we're going to go and see a musical," you'd be dragging me kicking and screaming.
Really, not your vibe. Yeah. Well, it's lucky that Cats wasn't around then. Because if you'd gone to see that, you might have gone, nah, I'm not doing this.
I love Cats. We all went as
Stop it. Did you really?
Like an Anna team. There was like all of us that just went along, and we just
howled, literally like the Cats are trying to do. Yeah.
I had the best time. So like South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncuts, my favourite musical. So
great. There you go.
I understood musicals and I could get them, and I'd seen Cannibal the musical, and Happiness of the Cacotauries, and Little Shop of Horror, and I'd seen those movies, but sort of like understanding them was what I felt like was my first sort of step, was understanding that, because the horror side of it, I was like, cool, I know this, yes. I get it, and I know what I want to do, and then I want in camera practical gore, we'll top it up, mop it up with VFX, that'll be the way to do it, but it has to be in camera, we have to see it, and
love that. Absolutely.
The film's not gory, but what we need to do is we need to break out the gore in specific moments. Because of course the amount of money it costs, the time, the resets, all of that sort of stuff is going to be really, really tight. So what we could do is limit that to specific moments. If characters are going to go, or important moments, and of course fun moments. So that took care of itself. The horror side, making sure that the characters, was always going to be about the casting, and that was another, sort of fuss up. But the musical side of it, like I went and watched like loads and loads of musicals, like Moulin Rouge. The boys had told me to go and watch Moulin Rouge. They told me to watch High School Musical. Like,
great, yeah, sure.
Right, I lasted 15 minutes. I was like, cool, I get it, I understand it, I know what this is about.
Yeah, that's enough. That's all I need to see, guys. I get it. In the end, they're going to get together and play basketball.
Yeah, I totally get it, right?
Dance.
And then they were like, watch the first half of the first season of Glee. Like I didn't. Yeah. And but I did watch stuff like, I say, Moulin Rouge. I fell in love with West Side Story. Oh,
it's so good. I can't wait for the next one, Spielberg's one. I can't wait. I think it's going to be great.
I feel like I came to it late, so late in life, but it's just wonderful. Like, I love it.
It is, isn't it? It's really wonderful. Yeah, it's great. So why don't you give a rundown to our audience who don't know what the film is about, just a short synopsis, and I'll play the trailer.
It's Anna and the Apocalypse is a zombie musical set at Christmas.
Is that it? I love it. Right, here's the trailer.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Young Anna was nestled, all snug in her bed, not knowing tomorrow she'd meet the undead. How would she survive what this season would bring? Well, that's simple. She'd stab, she'd slash, and she'd sing.
What?
Justin Bieber's a zombie.
So yeah, I mean, it's just, you can hear from that, it's so much fun, it's delightful, the songs are incredible. I mean, I think this is one thing that I think why from the beginning it just boosted up, because those songs are just delightful and performed with so much aplomb by your amazing cast. I've worked with Mark Benton before. He was in one of my shorts, one of my early shorts. Really nice. Paul Kay as well. I've met him a few times. Just really cool, and obviously Ella Hunt leading the way is just a delight. Did you cast, was anyone already cast when you came on board, or was it a case of blank slate?
So when I no, it was a blank slate. The boys were so good and so respectful, like with my decisions with cast and stuff like that. Like they, and it was a team discussion. We all did, sit together and talk about it, but I had 250 or something casting tapes to get through.
Wow.
It was mad.
Wow.
And, from that, we whittled them down to like about, I can't remember, it was maybe about 30 or 40, and we did sort of like in the room reads, and then we got the boys to sing a song with them, and we whittled that down again to get like chemistry reads to, see how people work together.
Because not only do they need to have great chemistry and be a brilliant actor, but they also need to sing really well. That's a tough ask. Obviously there's lots of musical theatre people out there, but specifically for what you were looking for this film.
No, totally. Oof. And like it was finding somebody that understood like the characters as well. And there was only one person who wasn't on the casting tapes. That was Marley Sue. Like I saw Marley in a play up in Dundee with Tyler, which was funny enough. And also there was the same day that I met Sarah Swire for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, she's fantastic, isn't she? And didn't she choreograph quite a bit of it as well? Is that correct? She came in.
She was a choreographer for the film. Yeah,
there you go. Amazing. Amazing.
And Emma Claire Brightling, who was my leading lady in Notes, and she's in like V for Visa. She's in the Mother Short, Doug and Steve, and she did a wee bit of fight choreo on Where Do We Go From Here? Is the fight the choreographer on Anna and the Apocalypse as well.
Oh, amazing.
And Lauren, who's my producer, she's an associate producer, and Tyler, he's in it, of course.
Of course. Yeah, of course you're going to bring your man. Why would you not? You know what I mean?
So
just great.
The casting, we found pretty much all of them right there and then, and there was a few of them who I'd saw in the casting tapes and went, nope, I know it's you. It's you. Ben Wiggins was like my Nick. From the moment I saw his casting tape, I was just like, oh my god, look at those dreamy eyes, you bastard! I love you.
Yeah, I love it when that happens. I love it when you see someone, you just go, yeah, they're the one. I want them. It's lovely, isn't it? It's better than going, I'm not sure.
But I can't say there was any disagreement with the cast we picked, and the only person we couldn't find was Malcolm, who played John. It took us right up to November to find him. It was the last bout of casting that we were sort of looking at, and it was he was in his second year at the RCS. Okay. So he didn't have an agent or anything. So but I saw his casting tape and it was exactly the same. He was standing there and in a Sonic the Hedgehog t-shirt and a jumper. And then he came in to do the casting, and he came in with this big bright orange jacket and sort of waddled in. I'm here he comes. This is my boy. This is him. I know it is.
Yeah.
I had my hands behind my back. Fingers crossed.
It's so nice when you find the cast like that and you find those little moments. I love it. It makes life so much easier. So now you've got this, you've got your cast, you're ready to go. How do you choreograph everything and work out time scales in terms of prepping a musical as opposed to a normal drama? Are you doing it like you would an action scene?
Yeah, we're just trying to give ourselves the time to do it, and we had a really good first AD, had a really good cinematographer.
Oh, you did, Sarah Dean, yeah, she's great.
She's incredible. And I love her colour. The two of us, we just both just adore and love colour.
Great.
It was that way of trying to make the film as bright as possible, but keeping it. And we have a colour journey. At the beginning of the film, it's all reds and blues and greens and yellows, and it's big and bright, bright and vibrant. The blacks are on the floor, but then when you get to the very end, it starts to become inkier, and all those sort of colours, that we had, they've turned sour.
That's so nice, yeah.
Turquoises and peaches and pinks. It was great fun.
That's great, yeah, because that's what's so nice. The film does start bright and breezy and fun, and right laugh, and then it does go darker and deeper, and you can tell that with the colours, and it works really well. The emotional heft of that. If you'd kept the lighter colours, like you say, you might not have got the emotion as much, and it works really well.
We're just breaking each musical down, each moment down. Sarah Swire was sort of still trying to finish them while we were doing them. So when we were doing, Hollywood Ending, which was the first one we did. So that was in the first scene we started shooting was Breakaway.
Okay.
But there was we did that as a sort of first day kind of moving into it, and which we would finish later. But Hollywood Ending, we did that whole canteen sequence. We shot that in 2 days.
Amazing.
So we started with Lisa sitting down next to Anna and talking about doing the joke about the prosthetic leg, all the way right up till the bell rings. So we did that over 2 days. We shot the dialogue sequence first, and then we started to then looked at the choreography, and we were just breaking it down to these wides, etc. There was certain stuff I already knew, I knew Marley and the table that we were all going to be dancing on, and I wanted that sort of tracking round them, following Anna for her section, and it's kind of breaking down the sections of the number and where people are, and yeah.
Did you have playback? Did you do it like a music video? Were you doing it that way so you'd have the track on a click?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd recorded all the songs. Well, the boys had done basic versions of them, up to a point, and then the cast. I always wanted the cast to be singing against their own voice.
Of course, yeah.
I didn't want them singing against anybody else's, so we'd got them in just before. We started shooting after Christmas, and before Christmas we had them in for rehearsals and costume fittings and to do their singing. So as I say, when we were playing it back, they were singing to themselves and they knew their parts and things like that.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant. It sounds so much fun and hard work but fun. What did you learn from your first film that you brought to Anna and the Apocalypse? So one of the things is I knew I would always sort of
it would always come across me, and I knew it would come across just because of like, you know, the project, the weight of it, and you know, that kind of the pressure behind it, which was, you know, a wee bit of imposter syndrome.
Yes.
So like, you know, when those first few days, you know, were really quite tough. Those, you know, like, you know, the beginning of them were tough because, you know, once you get into it, you forget about it, and it's just because you just like, you know, one foot in front of the next. You know,
absolutely, yeah. Survival, isn't it? Yeah.
And you have prepped it. You know, we've been sitting for months and months and months and working on this. It wasn't as if, you know, we've just turned up and, you know, we got a couple of cameras and a couple of people. You know, we knew it all down to the wire. You know, down to the, you know, the T, and it was just a case of, you know, doing it. And I think that I knew that I was going to feel like that, because that's like how I felt in the first one. You know, the first few days were just like, that was a bit, you know, no torture, but, you know, I was just worried that people are going to realise that I don't know what I'm doing. and it's not to say like I don't know what I'm doing, but, you know, when you're there and you're in it and you're like, you know, you kind of can't believe you're there. You can't, you know, and as I said, in the like the panic of it all, you know, that builds up just before you start turning over, is, you know, as I say, you feel like the biggest imposter, and somebody's going to turn around. You're going to make a decision, and somebody's going to turn around and go, "That's the stupidest decision Andy's ever made in their entire life. You can't direct traffic, mate. Get out of here."
I know, isn't that such a strange feeling that we have that? You know, even though we prepped it, we're planning it, it's our shot. We've already spoke to the DP where the camera's going to go. We've already spoke to the actors, but yet you still go, "Oh, imposter syndrome. Is someone going to turn around? Is someone looking over my shoulder going to tap me and go, 'What are you doing? Mate, stop, get out.'" It's weird. Such a strange thing. I think everyone gets it from, like I say, everyone who's been on the podcast talk about that as a thing. It's like, you know, even if they made 6 features, isn't that, I think it's just one of those things you get and you just fight through it and just go, no, like you say, by the 3rd or 4th day, since it's irrelevant, you're like, yeah, come over here. Right, let's, okay, chop from here. But that first moment, which is why I love talking about that first moment, because it's quite a big thing to go, okay, let's turn over, let's go action.
Right.
But like I say, you just fight through it. You can get through it. So yeah, I mean, was it a good shoot in all? Was it amazing?
It was incredible.
Yeah,
it was incredible. Like it was every day was so much fun. Every day was brilliant. It was a great laugh. Like, you know, it was hard. It was tough on days. You know, but like, so those people who I was working with on Waterloo Road, you know, like, you know, the camera team I was working with were my A camera team, and, you know, like people who I went and worked in dailies with and like River City stuff were on my B camera team.
That's so,
you know, like,
cool. That's great, mate. Yeah.
The gaffer was like the best boy in Waterloo Road when I used to work together, and like, you know, again, I'm a camera assistant by trade, so like all the Sparks used to know me because I'm with John McPhail that's going to come and hound you for power. You know, like, you know, especially when you're on location. And then what I used to always do was, you would make coffee in the morning for the camera team, and whenever we were on location, I used to bring in 2 flasks, right? And I'd always bring in like a spare flask and make another set of coffee.
Right.
And whenever like I need to go and charge like my or find a charging point for the batteries, I used to go up to the Sparks and you'd be like, "Right, lads, who wants a cup of coffee? Here you go. You're brilliant, man." And then you'd be like, "Right, where can I charge these?" And they're like, "Get Dave, fuck you, fuck off." Like, but you know, it's again a total banter. And they're like, "I should charge it in the back, you know, but don't do it again," you know.
Yeah,
they know that they need to give you the power. They don't want to because they want to hold the power. But at the same time, if you're going to have a bit of banter with them, you're going to butter them up, have a laugh with them. They'll take it and as I say, in a lot of fun. So a lot of folk like that would come on. A lot of folk who I'd worked with for years, you know, they've all had come on to sort of like working, like Fiona Morrison, who was my head of costume. We were trainees together, like, wow. You know, like
that's so nice. You bring these people with you, and now you're the director. It's like, yeah. Before I was sort of, you know, trying to get power from people or bringing people coffee, and you're like, yeah, no, I'm directing now. So, do you want to come with me? How great!
Would you call it? Well, you know, a lot of these people are just like they're the best that you know that work in Scotland, you know, and that's who you wanted, and you know, like, and they were just so excited to come and, you know, work on the film and come and work for me, and you know, that's something as well. Was like I was really, really lucky about was my crew. Like my crew were incredible. They busted their hump every day of the week, and you know, like, you know, it felt like, you know, we'd all grown up together. We'd all came up together, like that, which was really nice.
Yeah, it is nice. And actually, speaking of nice, I think it's so important, and you've explained it brilliantly. And anyone listening, take this to heart. How nice John was when he was doing all those jobs and bringing the banter and bringing the fun, but also doing his job properly, so that when the time came that he was making his feature, people wanted to work with him, and that, and you could also pick up the phone and ask for advice. And that is so important. Don't be a dick on set. I say it, but it's so true, isn't it? You seem like a lovely guy, and you get shit done. You've proved it. And I think it's so important. But I do that. I hate the whole with filmmakers who go, oh, no, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to treat these people that way. No, everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's working their asses off, sometimes for you.
I've been a runner, I've been a production runner,
Yeah.
One of the things is, like, when I remember working as a runner and going, right, what does everybody, and you try and work out what everybody does, and you appreciate it, because then when you're running your own set, you're going, right, I know what you do, and I know what you do. Yep. And if there's one bit of advice I can give to filmmakers, and it doesn't matter, like, if it's like you've got a team of like 6 people or 60 people or 600 people, whatever it is, at the end of every single day, you go around and you say thank you, like, to every department. And at the end of every day on Anna, like, it didn't matter if it was a terrible day, if we'd been running behind and we need to pick up the next day, or if it'd been a pure breeze of a day and we were about to finish early, or it didn't matter. Like, the end of every single day, you went round, you said thanks very much, shook people's hands, gave them a cuddle, and I'd take an hour out of my day just to be like, go round, get back to location, go around all the departments, pop my head in and say thanks very much. Yep. Because people appreciate it. They appreciate that you appreciate their work.
Absolutely.
That you're not just like going to snub them. And I know for a fact people come in and they worked 110% harder for me because they knew they were appreciated, and they knew that, like, that, and not only knew what they did, I knew their names, and like I had a as I say, an appreciation for them.
It's great advice, man. It really is. A lot of people don't do that. They sit at the top and go, I'm fine, I'm all right up here. But yeah, absolutely, mate. And you'll take that with you onto your next film and your next one, and that is only a really good thing. It's only a really good thing. So, I mean, we could talk about anime podcasts all day, but I know your time is, and us as well, our listeners. So obviously it has done really well. You got picked up by AMP and Orion Pictures, which is huge. Right?
It's amazing.
Orion. Remember that logo coming on, Orion, and you got picked up by Orion, mate. That must have been a special moment.
Oh, we were the first acquisition since they come back. Wow. So we were like, wow. And I later learned we were sold in a deal, like a Canadian deal, with or something like that as well, like first rates and that. It's like, man, we were sold in a deal with Bell and Ted 3. It's like, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
Like, the whole journey, like, for all of us, has just been incredible. And it's, we done a tweet along the other night, and we were all on house party together, and like, we've got like a WhatsApp group so we talk to each other like practically every day, like,
that's so cool.
So we're all just so tight. So, like, throughout the whole process of, like, there was times with film festivals I was on my own, and then there was times where, like, certain like people come along with me, or, like, meet up with me and things like that. But then when we got to do like a sort of like we tour together, like we went to like Comic-Con and did Elsie Fest, and we did Sitges together, and we did Fantastic Fest together, Edinburgh Film Festival, Fright Fest. Those were, for me, were the most fun, because when we were shooting the film, like, everybody would be like, after finishing, we're like, going for a wee pint after, or we're going to do this, and I'd be like, I can't. I need to go home and prep for the morning. I'm making a zombie musical, mate. Like, me just turning up to my 95, like, so. Like, I noticed I didn't have any fun. Like, I had fun on set, and I had laughs and jokes with people, but like, the one thing I kind of missed out on was like all the sort of like
the camaraderie, the drink, and the banter afterwards. I know, mate. And it's devastating for us as directors that you can do a bit of that, but you've got to be really careful. I would never
recommend it. Even my days off, like, like, if it was like the next day was a day off, like, the next day I was back in the school prepping the next scenes. Like,
well, you've got to. It's your job to do that and be on top of everything. Otherwise, nothing gets done, and it's an absolute shit show. And it's your name at the end of the day, So, filmmakers, you can't do that. You just can't. I find it amazing when people do. They go out and get smashed or whatever. They have a drink with their cast and crew, and you're like, whoa, properly heavy. You can maybe have one quick one if you've got a, whatever it is, but you've got to prep for your next
Imagine
date,
directing
man.
with a hangover. Like
Don't. It's hard enough as it is. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine.
You in every 5 minutes. It would just be with
You would be.
that.
But you also can't think, and you need your brain. You need to be on fire when you're directing. You have to think about every single thing. I say it's like organising a wedding every day.
Yeah, it's all is a good way like that.
People have got to turn up. You've got to get them there, and you've got to get the food there on time, and then everything's got to run like clockwork. And if you've gone out the night before, no chance. It's just not going to work. So yeah, I don't advise it at all. So Anna and the Apocalypse, it is out now, right across the world, so people can go watch it if they've not seen it. Is that great? Great. So I'll put a link to wherever you want me to put a link to in the show notes. America, UK, everywhere else around the world, you can get Anna and the Apocalypse, and I highly recommend you going to check it out. John McPhail, thank you so much for joining us. Honestly,
pleasure,
this has been an absolute joy. Where can people follow you on the socials and say hello and say thank you?
I know I'm on Twitter, like at Worrying Drake. So yeah, no, you can get me there. Any questions about the movie or anything like that, just send us a wee tweet.
Do it. There you go. The offer is there, ladies and gentlemen. Send it. So you can follow us at Filmmakers Pod or me at Giles Alderson. If you've enjoyed this in any way, shape or form, tell your friends. That's how we grow. And also give us a nice review on iTunes. Why not? We have thousands of podcasts. I say thousands. We've got hundreds of podcasts for you to listen to with so much advice while you've got the downtime now to catch up on. So head to thefilmmakerspodcast.com where you will also find all our merch. Oh yeah, all our lovely, sexy new merch you can be wearing. And get your projects ready, get your scripts ready so they're 100% ready and prep, just like John is doing now. And don't forget, join us this Thursday for the Make Your Film event, literally 3 days away, June the 4th. It's going to be brilliant. Come learn how you can make your film as well. John, again, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, buddy.
No, thanks, dude. Thank you very, very much. This has been good fun.
It has. It's been really good. Remember who your audience is and get out there and make your film. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it's your duty to send the elevator back down. Until next Tuesday, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.